Welcome to The Explainer. So, you're a foreign traveler visiting South Korea, right? And I'm guessing you've probably spent, well, an incredible amount of time just soaking in that bustling, hypermodern energy of Seoul. But what if you're craving something a little different? What if you want a highly rewarding coastal destination that feels completely a world away from those massive city crowds, but is still super easy to get to? Well, today, we're diving into a city that absolutely fits the bill, Gangneung.
So really, are you looking for the ultimate coastal escape? Because Gangneung is uniquely positioned as basically the premier destination on Korea's east coast. And look, it's not just a standard beach town. It's this incredible place that brilliantly combines deep, ancient historical roots with the vibrant modern pulse of K-culture. You've got breathtaking natural landscapes right alongside an incredibly innovative food scene. It's literally the kind of place where you can walk through a centuries-old traditional estate in the morning, and then, take a selfie at a world-famous K-pop filming location by the afternoon.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our quick roadmap for today's explainer. First, getting around using the foreigner tourist taxi. Then we'll hit history and traditional culture. After that, K-culture and coastal views. And finally, Gangneung's unique culinary scene. Let's get to it.
Section 1. Getting around. The foreigner tourist taxi. Simply the easiest way to navigate Gangneung.
Now, I know navigating rural or coastal Korea can honestly be a little intimidating for foreign visitors, but I want you to think about this unbelievable number: 20,000 Korean won. Thanks to local government subsidies that are specifically designed to boost international tourism, you can actually charter a private 5-seater taxi for up to 4 people for 3 whole hours. Guys, that's essentially $15 total. The basic rate is usually around 60,000 won, but you only pay 20. It's wild. It's by far the most efficient way to see all the city's scattered attractions. And don't worry about any language barriers. The drivers use real-time AI translation apps to chat with you and even recommend some cool local spots.
There is a super crucial detail you need to know, though. Because of some recent policy changes and just incredibly high demand, you can't just show up and book it on the day anymore. So, step 1 is strictly required. You absolutely have to book online through platforms like Trazy or Klook at least 3 days in advance. Step 2, make sure you bring your physical passport to verify your foreigner status. And step 3, you literally just meet your driver right at the Gangneung KTX station. It couldn't be smoother.
And having that taxi on standby is a total game changer, because Gangneung caters perfectly to 2 completely distinct types of travelers. Let's say you're a history buff. You can just tell your driver to hit up Ojukan, the Songyeojang estate, and all the traditional festivals. But if you're a massive K-culture fan, you can zip straight over to the BTS bus stop, the Goblin Breakwater, or the immersive RT Museum. You basically get to mix and match to mentally build your ultimate custom coastal itinerary.
Section 2. History and traditional culture. We're talking millennia of Korean heritage.
So we're going to kick things off with a history buff's itinerary first, uncovering the city's ancient roots. And to introduce our very first stop, I have to share this quote from a travel blogger we came across in our sources who literally called it genuinely one of my most favorite traditional sites in Korea. They were talking about Ojukan House. It is just this incredibly idyllic spot with authentic 1500s architecture, traditional snacks, and it gives you a real, genuine glimpse into the scholar class of the Joseon period.
Let's break these 2 major sites down real quick. So, Ojukan House isn't just famous for its gorgeous black bamboo, it's actually the birthplace of Shin Sayeomdang and her son Yi-ai. And if you're wondering how important they are, well, just check your wallet. They're the historical figures featured right there on the 50,000 and 5,000 Korean won bills. Pretty cool, right? And then right nearby, you've got Songyeojang. This is a staggering 99-room estate that perfectly shows off the absolute height of Joseon Dynasty high society living. We're talking gorgeous lotus ponds, sweeping traditional pavilions, the whole shebang. Now, if you happen to be visiting in mid-June, you are in for a treat with the Gangneung Donoje Festival. This isn't just some local pop-up fair. It is a millennium-old UNESCO intangible cultural heritage event. And the best part? It's incredibly accessible for foreigners, mainly because of the famous guano mask play. Because it's completely nonverbal, relying purely on dance, dramatic gestures, and these really expressive masks, you honestly don't need to speak a single word of Korean to totally get the humor, the drama, and that deep cultural resonance of the performance.
Section 3. K-culture and coastal views, where nature truly meets modern media.
Shifting gears from the ancient past straight into the vibrant present. First things first, the beaches. Unlike a lot of the really rocky beaches you'll find on the Korean peninsula, Gangpo Beach has this rare, beautiful, super soft sand right up against the deep blue Pacific. Trust me, it is a massive relief for your feet. But beyond just lounging on the sand, the northern coast is basically a pop culture pilgrimage.
You've got the crazy, sensory-rich digital art at the Arte Museum. You've got the actual bus stop from BTS's You Never Walk Alone album cover. Oh, and of course, the iconic breakwater, where those sweeping, romantic scenes from the K-drama Goblin were filmed.
But, the coastal views here aren't just a stunning backdrop for modern K-dramas. They've actually inspired poetry for centuries. There's this famous local saying about Gyeongpade Pavilion. It goes that if you sit there on a clear night, you can see the moon in 5 different places. Up in the sky, reflected in the sea, reflected in the lake, reflected right there in your glass of liquor, and shining in your lover's eyes. I mean, wow, right? It's this beautiful, highly sensory image that perfectly captures that romantic Gangneung atmosphere.
And if you want a bit of a hike to go with those epic coastal views, you absolutely have to check out the Badabuche Sea Road. The contrast here is what's truly fascinating. For decades, this really dramatic, rocky coastline was a heavily guarded, heavily restricted military patrol zone because of Cold War tensions. But today, it has been completely transformed into one of Korea's most beautiful, peaceful, and popular coastal eco-trails. You literally get to walk right alongside the crashing waves. It's a must-do for sure.
Section 4. Gangneung's unique culinary scene. Tofu, coffee, and craft beer. Okay, all that exploring is definitely going to make you hungry. And the absolute, hands-down, must-try local specialty here is chodang tofu. The history behind this is actually super fascinating. Back in the day, when standard salt was really scarce and expensive, the locals figured out a pretty brilliant hack. They realized they could just use the fresh, pure seawater from the nearby East Sea as a natural coagulant to curdle their soybeans. That clever little geographical trick created a tofu that is incredibly soft, deeply flavorful, and completely unique to Gangneung.
In fact, there is an entire chodang tofu village packed with over 20 restaurants completely dedicated to this one ingredient. You absolutely have to taste the spicy seafood tofu stew. It just perfectly balances that delicate, soft tofu with really rich, fiery coastal seafood flavors. But they don't stop there. They get really creative with it. Do not skip the tofu gelato. I know it sounds a little wild, but it has this amazing, surprisingly fluffy texture. And to wash it all down, head over to Budnamu Brewery. They brew these fantastic, rustic craft beers, including one that's famously infused with the scent of local pine trees, which perfectly reflects Gangneung's forested landscape.
Finally, you literally cannot leave Gangneung without visiting Anmok Coffee Street. The evolution of this area is just incredible. It started years and years ago with just a handful of simple, instant coffee vending machines plunked out on the beach. Today, it has exploded into this massive strip featuring over 20 multi-story oceanfront cafes and specialty roasters. I'm telling you, grabbing a high-quality, locally roasted coffee and just sitting by a massive window looking out over the huge expanse of the East Sea, it is quite literally the perfect way to recharge during your day trip.
So from a $15 private taxi that zips you around the city, to 500-year-old traditional estates, to BTS filming locations, right down to seawater tofu and oceanfront coffee, Gangneung truly is a dynamic, multi-layered coastal escape. So the only real question left for you is, which side of Gangneung are you going to explore first? Are you going for the ancient history, the modern pop culture, or are you just here for the food? Start planning your custom coastal getaway today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.